Hi, I'm AMERIE with the AMERIE'S Book Club selection for the month of November, which is 100 Days by Alice Pung. In 100 Days, we meet teenaged Karuna, who is pregnant and living with her single mother. Her father is present in her life, but not as much as she would like. They live in Australia. Karuna is mixed race. Her father is Caucasian, he's Australian, and her mother is of Chinese ethnicity from the Philippines. And she married Karuna's father as a mail order bride. She never met him. She only saw him via photograph and was shocked and disappointed that when she did meet him at the airport, he did not look or wasn't as young as he was in the photograph. And so she felt tricked ever since the first day of their marriage. Things were very complicated for Karuna's mother regarding being an immigrant, adjusting to life in Australia, holding lots of the beliefs, everything that she brought with her culturally from the Philippines. So Karuna and her mother live together in Melbourne in government housing. And she's pregnant. Her mother is extremely upset. Thus begins Karuna's letter to her unborn child. The book is, in fact, a long letter so that her child knows how things came to be. Because during this entire pregnancy, her mother has threatened to raise the baby as her own, whereby Karuna would be the baby's sister. We follow Karuna on this journey, how she got pregnant, who the father of her child is, and what it's like to have a mother who loves her very much but is extremely controlling. She wants to control everything Karuna does, and it even gets to a point where she refuses to let Karuna leave the house or the apartment. Through it all, Karuna fights for her independence, fights to understand her own voice, who she is, what she wants for her child, whether or not she's capable enough, while at the same time, she and her mother are excavating their relationship. The story is told in a first-person perspective because this is Karuna's letter to her child. So as you're reading it, it's as if you're reading this letter. And she details so many things. There's so much here that's extremely hurtful, tense. You almost can't believe where her mother's coming from. At the same time, there is so much humor and so much love. I have seen some readers say, nope, there's no excuse for what her mother is doing. But I think, especially as children of immigrants or children who have parents that are not American, or at least one parent who isn't American or raised as an American, much of this will resonate because you do have so much gentle parenting in the States, which I think is amazing. But at the same time, how do I say this? Immigrant parents or parents who come from other countries can be very blunt. Like everything in America, like in Western, culture is so smoothed over. All the edges are ironed out, and in many other countries, parents really just say what it is. They just say things like they are. I remember growing up and feeling very nervous whenever I would have friends over because I felt like, you know, my mother's great, like everyone loved my mother, but at the same time, I just didn't know what she was going to say. Oh wow, you really gained a lot of weight, pretty fat. Well, and again, for those of you guys who have parents who are not American or not European, but come from anywhere else, I'm pretty sure, I would like to see in the comments if you understand what I'm saying. Also, her mother is really funny. Her mother is a firecracker because she's very opinionated and she has so many opinions about everything from the government to the medical healthcare system. She has so many like old wives' tales regarding what you should and shouldn't do when you're pregnant because then your baby will be like this, then your baby will be like that. And a lot of these things do sound ridiculous. However, I did hear a couple of those things. Like when her mother wants to keep her inside, I think like not eating, did she say not eating cold things? I don't know, but traditionally, when it comes to Koreans, for instance, when you're giving birth, you don't leave the house afterward for 40 days. You don't take a shower for as long as you can because you don't want anything cold. You don't want like wind, that wind element. My mom really regretted the one time that we went out during my 40 days inside. Just because I was like, oh, let's just get something to eat. And we went to a cafe and then she had me like sitting in the corner and the breeze was blowing a little bit. And she had my sister Angela like sitting on the other side. Angela was like, I don't want to sit right here. It's like windy. Mommy was like, Amory can't have the wind. You have to block the wind. And Angela was like, oh my gosh. And then of course, after we left lunch, my mother lamented for days and days and days and how we shouldn't have gone out to eat. I shouldn't have got wind on me. Like what's going to happen to my bones? I have to be careful, like my teeth and all these other things. And then in the hospital, I didn't have any cold food. Like in the hospital, they like to give you like popsicles or basically the hospital, they do give you a lot of junk. It's just like, we're in a hospital. Why are you giving me high fructose corn syrup and dyes and all this artificial stuff? Like we're in a hospital, but I guess you just want everybody to keep having to come back. So some of the things that her mother mentions, I understand where she's coming from. She also has a lot of things that she'll mention. The medical industry, They want that money. So some of the things that her mother was saying, I was like, she is spot on. But then she has this other stuff that like she just goes way left. I've talked a lot about Karuna's mother, and that's because her mother is such an integral part of the story. It's Karuna and her mother's story, their dynamic, their relationship, as Karuna is coming of age and becoming a mother and wondering what that means. What kind of mother can she be? What does she bring from the way that she's been mothered into mothering her child? What does she want to keep? What does she want to do differently? And everything, of course, escalates as she progresses through her pregnancy and her mother begins to trust her less and feels she needs to keep her more safe, which effectively means locking Karuna away to the point of where she doesn't even have a key to leave the apartment. This all sounds very, very dreary and horrible. I promise you this is a tense, sometimes hurtful or painful, yet light and hilarious read. I am so happy to present this book to you all. 100 Days by Alice Pung is phenomenal. I think so many of you will see yourselves somewhere in this story or see people that you know. From Karuna herself to the boy that she's dating, to the women in Karuna's life, her mother, the women who are friends with her mother and Karuna is getting advice from at different times. Also people from school. Karuna's father, who is so well-meaning yet distant. Both Karuna's father and mother love her very, very much, but there is definitely a difference regarding how they care for her. If you looked at it from a very surface level, one could say, well, I see that the problem with her mother is that she loves her too much, or she thinks that control is love. And her father loves Karuna very much too, but he's too distant. He's hands off. And so he loves her, but from the periphery. Those are generalizations. It's up to you to decide what you think about her relationship with both parents. It's such a beautiful book. I am so happy to present it to you. Make sure you join us at the end of the month, at the end of November, to discuss the book with Alice Pung. Make sure you follow along with the hashtags Read with Amory, Amory's Book Club. Follow on IG at Amory's Book Club. Also my IG, my personal IG at Amory. That's where we'll have the chat. Make sure you pick up your own copy. I will see you at the end of the month. In the meantime, happy reading.